welcome to Banking Frontiers. We are hosting a panel discussion with several esteemed people from the BFSI industry. Our topic today is adapting operations to the digital normal. As we all know, digital normal is what the post-pandemic scenario is about. And while it is very interesting and attractive what is happening at the front end on the website or a mobile app, what is really happening in the organization at the backside of the organization is something that is equally critical. And so that's what we're going to try to discuss and understand in depth in this discussion. I welcome all my panelists and request each of them to briefly introduce themselves, their name, their role in the organization, those kind of things. Also request everyone to be on mute when you're not speaking so that extra noise doesn't filter into the system, into the conversation. So let me start by requesting Atul for a very brief introduction.
Hello Manoj and hello my co-panelists. Great to be a part of this discussion. My name is Atul Deshpande. I represent SBI General Insurance Company. I am the Chief Operating Officer of the company, and as a part of that, I am responsible for technology as well as the entire back office of the company. Great to be here on this panel.
Thank you, Atul. That's great to have you here. Let me request Prashant.
Yeah. So good afternoon all. Myself Prashant Deshpande. I am working with Sriram Transport Finance Company for last 25 years. I am as a CISO and my role is CISO and CDO. And we are in an industry where our customers are like used vehicle drivers and the senior citizens who opt for our deposits. So these are our flavor of our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant, and welcome to our discussion. Priya, let's have your introduction.
Great pleasure to be here first and foremost, Manoj, and happy to see all my co-panelists. I'm Priya Deshmukh Gilbile. I work in the capacity of a Chief Operating Officer with MANIPALCIGNA, leading into the insurance sector. Been in this space for the last 24 years and looking forward to a very, very engaging panel discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Harsh, can we have your introduction?
Hi, Manoj. Thanks for having me on the panel. Nice to meet all the co-panelists. My name is Harsh Chamria. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Magma Fincorp Limited, where we do vehicle financing and SME financing as well as affordable housing finance. In my role, I lead IT operations and customer service as well as lead gen and cross-sell for Magma. Looking forward to an engaging discussion today.
Yes, thank you, Harsh. Welcome. Good to know your multiple roles as well. Mr. S. Mahesh.
Hi, good afternoon, Manoj. Thanks for having me on this panel and good afternoon to all the co-panelists. I'm S. Mahesh. I represent Future Generali India Life Insurance Company. I have been with the company for about 7 years and in the BFSI space for more than 27 years. And in insurance, life insurance specifically for more than 20 years. Prior to this, I was with Tata AIA as their head of operations, admin and facilities. And now in Future Generali, I head operations and administration.
Great, Mahesh. Great to have you here with us. Our second Mahesh in this discussion, Mr. Mahesh Hariharan.
Hi. So thank you, Manoj, and thank you, panelists. It's a great honor to be as part of this panel. So I represent Blue Prism. We are a leading RPA intelligent automation company, and I lead the financial services sector business for the India South Asia region. Again, I've been handling banking and BFSI clients for the last 20 years across IBM, Oracle, and quite a few other corporations. Nice to be here again.
In any BFSI organization, what are the main changes in the digital strategy in the post-COVID era? And how are you aligning operations, people and technology operations, and other kinds of operations with this digital orientation?
Very good question. And, the pandemic has really driven us to minimalistic living. And it has changed the way we not only are doing business, but the way we purchase things, the way we are socializing, the way we are working, and all paradigms across different aspects of life. Now, having said that, in our own businesses, irrespective of which business we operate in, for example, we are in health insurance. The digitization and digitalization really came very handy and at the forefront to support our customers, support our partners, as well as our employees amidst this sudden, kind of pandemic, which had no downtime.
Yes.
Which had no downtime, and suddenly we had this challenge. I guess being digitally ready to service our customers came very, very handy. And we were able to really activate the BCP in a matter of less than 48 hours. We know we all went into lockdown at no notice. The way we were selling, of course, insurance is all about face-to-face advisory selling, but we were ready, our assets were ready, and we were able to orient our advisors, our partners to sell digitally. With that, business continued. Similarly, at the back-end operations, not about only selling, because insurance, the real test is today when the pandemic has hit us as a country, whether insurance really works when it really matters the most.
Yes.
And that's where the entire back-end operations, we rolled out around 45 different processes to enable customers digitally, submitting the claims, renewal being made digitally, and also helping our customers to have this fear psychosis, to get over this fear psychosis that claims are going to be payable, COVID is covered. So we resorted to a lot of IVR calls. We resorted to a lot of technologically enabled engagement with our customers to keep them abreast of what is happening and most importantly, be there for them when it really matters. That's what I would say.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think you touched upon it very well, that the claims is what drives the experience with the customers.
Correct. It's an opportunity to build trust, right? I mean, there's so much of trust deficit, and this was the time for us to build that up.
Very, very, very pertinent. If I may come to Atul and ask him to give the general insurance perspective on the digital transformation and alignment of operations.
Right. Hi. I would like to build upon what Priya just mentioned about and just add a couple of points there. You see, in today's world, and though each one of us are coming from different industries, in today's world, our benchmarks are not the competition within our core domain. It is across domain. So as a customer, the customer expects an insurer to be as nimble, agile, and service oriented as maybe an e-commerce entity could be. The features and facilities that the e-commerce entities provide to him as of now, tracking of his orders, as of now, tracking of his payments, is something that the customer is expecting from any domain as of today. And that change expectations were something that the insurance company had to come up to terms quickly. Luckily for us, we were already significantly present in the digital space, so it made us possible to achieve that in a small period of time. The other aspect is also the distributor. Now, while on one side the customers expected to be as agile as a FMCG or a e-commerce company, the distributors who traditionally were more into face-to-face sales or in-person meetings and acquiring new customers, suddenly, because of the change environment, the situation completely kind of metamorphosized. We immediately started receiving a high inquiries from our channel partners for a digital adaptation. Some of the tools which were ready at that point of time and were deployed came in handy, but we were very agile in the early days to set up new tools and bring in new technology platforms that helped our distribution team in a significant portion. And the last and the foremost thing, when you are talking about satisfying your customers and we are talking about satisfying your distributor, you have also to ensure that the back office that you run as an organization is spruced up to meet that expectation. With almost 95% of our staff not working in the offices, in the initial days, there was a challenge as to how do you make them productive? How do you put resources into their houses so that they can connect with the outer world? So we took some quick decisions and we enabled our people to work from home in no time. In fact, within the first 5 days of the lockdown, almost 70% of our staff was enabled with the technology at their home. And we provided them access to all of our systems so that they are able to carry on with the entire life cycle our sales as well as fulfillment process. So that was done seamlessly.
You're right,
So,
Atul. I think the first part of the story was just to get people and the networks and the computers, everything working while with people working from home. That itself was a challenge. And
Right.
operationally, it was a challenge, not just technologically. Shipping
Absolutely. The back
laptops
office,
and
yes, the back office had to be live as much as nothing has happened. I mean, it was just a new day for them.
absolutely, absolutely right. Let's hear from one of the NBFCs. How did they tackle the digital transformation and the operation side of it?
Yeah. So
Yeah, Prashant.
Prashant here. Yeah. So uh, I think before pandemic, also there were a lot of challenges were there, like demonetization, then other NBFCs having issues and all those things. So demonetization is the time when we took a stand that yes, a lot of things needs to be digitalized now, and frankly, as a Sriram culture, the number of staff at office, if you see, we have each branch, if we have a 25 to 30 people in branch, my 80 to 90% people, like out of 25, 20 people are the we call them as a REs, relationship executives. And last 35, 40 years, we have not provided any system to them.
Oh,
Okay. So the entire field force is on field and on mobile. Okay. And my back office is hardly 4 to 5 people in the branch. So my entire
hmm.
field force does my 60, more than 60% of my business, that is a entry, proposal entry, and the collection happens on mobile. Okay.
Okay.
And most of my branches are in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And we have that advantage, we always says that tier 1 cities guys are more tech savvy or something, but you won't believe my truck drivers are more tech savvy, and they want to do a lot of their activities on mobile because these guys are on continuous move. Okay. So the
So they're
entire
mobile
my,
savvy.
yeah, all are mobile savvy. All truck drivers are mobile savvy, and most of their transaction they do on their mobile. Okay. And that was the advantage we had, where last 2 years most of our business are happening on mobile, and we say your mobile, your branch. And back office as such, only 5 to 6 people are there in office to do the common work. That was the advantage we had. And in fact, we got the other challenges where we need to equip all our strategic ecosystem partner, so that my people can run their business smoothly, because tier 2 tier 3 cities, all the business running, all trucks running on agriculture were there on the road, irrespective of the
Okay.
lockdown. Those guys are working. And the challenge was, in a Sriram Transport, we provide the entire working capital loans to all our customers. Let it be a tax, we give a loan for the tax, road tax. We give loan for the toll. We give them the tire loan. We give a fuel loan to them. And believe me, everything happens on OTP and QR code. Okay. No entry, nothing. Just enter the mobile number, scan the QR code, enter the OTP, and you are done. You are ready to
Hmm.
fill the fuel. So we just ensure that the entire ecosystem is in place, so that my truck drivers can earn to pay me back.
So Prashant, if
Bec-
I can focus, what was the
Yeah,
change during COVID that your operations had to do? What you
yeah,
described is more like situation normal, but what was the
right.
change?
Yeah. So the major change was, like meeting the customer or contacting the customer, because my call center was down, and a lot of people were reluctant to meet personally.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that was the time where the first thing what we have done is that we have introduced the cloud telephony solution, where instead of depending on my 500 or 1,000 call center executives, we made all our 20,000 relationship executives all our call center agents.
Okay. Okay.
Because what we thought the core to be in touch with customer, that was a time when we wanted to be in touch with customers, so that if they have any issues to run the business or any requirement of the working capital loan, we could do it through mobile. And all my major applications are available on mobile, where a B2C and my B2E app will able to suffice them. So
Okay.
the
Prashant, let's
only the addition thing what we have done
uh,
other than cloud telephony is that we brought in assisted model for our customer. Okay, so video KYC was there, and to be frank, with lot of digital initiatives have taken by a lot of banks and NBFC, but we were not in rush to get everything. we
Okay.
we just categorize kind of a good to have and must to have, and the thing which give a comfort to my customer, which is must for my customer, is what we implemented first. So
Okay.
in while looking at video KYC, we thought rather than using video KYC, let us have assisted approach to my customer. So if you want
Interesting.
anything, the entire thing can be done on video, to help them to upload the documents, to help them ask for any other help or something. So the
Okay.
assisted approach is what helped us during this time. And as I said, cloud telephony was a great success, where all my relationship executives started contacting all the guys. And irrespective of my call center was not working at full force, still we'll be able to survive. As last 6 months, the collection was our core objective. But, because new business, thanks to all other banks not providing funds and all those issues were there. But yes,
Okay.
working capital loan, what we could manage effectively because of this end-to-end entire module is available on the mobile.
If I can ask Mahesh, Hariharan, as an IT company, you have seen several of these initiatives described. What is your take on the BFSI sector operations tuning
See,
up for the digital transformation?
no, I mean, honestly, like all the panelists said, there's always a trigger point. Some of them are prepared ahead, some are not prepared ahead. And somewhere we feel that, as Blue Prism, as an intelligent automation company, we are sort of built for this disruption and change as a platform itself, right? Because we become that bridge where if a new process has to be brought in, that can be quickly brought in. I'll give you an example. For example, in an typically a loan deferral request is something which is happening during this time, right? And one of our customers, the typical loan request, deferral requests were about 200 per day. But post the pandemic, in about a month or couple of months, it went 250x, right? So
250x.
X, yeah. So if you were to put earlier it was 20 people, you need 200 people to do that job, right? Across the operational, I would say, the process line. So, they were at loss. First of all, employees were not available. How you manage this request? It's your existing clients. You have to, have them. So then, we were called in. In fact, they were using a very small element of our software. But then we quickly did this whole change in 2 weeks. 7 robots started doing the job of this entire end-to-end processing. So I'm saying there are a lot of use cases like this which will come up. Of course, now the pandemic is there, but there are a lot of examples like this. So I think as all organizations, it's all about being digitally ready to handle this disruption and change. I think the way we will look forward from now and along with, our customers is, how quickly you can adapt, keeping in mind that soft elements of, managing the employee expectations also, right? So that's the
Right,
soft
right.
aspect that we need to always keep in mind. It may not just be always pure play cost benefit. There are a lot of
Correct, correct.
intangible things which you have to look at. So that's my point on this.
That's a very interesting example.
Yeah.
Example of the problem also, an example of the solution.
Yeah.
I find both of them pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
Friends,
think
let's move on to our second.
Manoj, if I may, I'll just add one more nuance to this. I think all the views that have been shared. I think there were, when this pandemic really hit the world, I think most of the organizations were in different stages of digital readiness. So I think that clearly helped. I don't think any organization was found wanting in terms of their ability to restart operation in a manner of speaking, maybe with different degrees of difficulty. But I think the big one key factor was that in the insurance space, there are 3 stakeholders: employee, intermediary, and the customer, right?
Okay.
So I think one big challenge that I guess was required to be addressed was to bring the belief in the system that even if there is a pandemic, it is possible to run operation in such a situation. And I think that required the leadership team of insurance companies to really communicate wide and large to their employees to say that this is possible, this can be done. I think that I spent a lot of time doing that and making people believe that yes, the infrastructure is there, the readiness is there, and it can really be deployed to its fullest capacity and we can continue. I think that was one big aspect as far as employees were concerned, because that led to the successful navigation during this pandemic. I think that was a key element. The other important aspect was distributors. I think given in the insurance space, there is a different degree of digital adaptation and the savviness of a distributor to really take on a digital tool and start doing business. I think to build the belief with the distributor to be able to use the tools and the digital capabilities that are there and make them feel confident. And believe you me, I think most of the insurers, I'm sure Priya and Atul will kind of agree with that, that most of the insurers were possibly able to give better experience to their distributor because the transactions were done digitally. And I think to replicate that success and to communicate the success of digital adaptation was a very key element to make intermediaries adapt to the new normal. I think that was a very important aspect of operation. And the third aspect was customer, because the customers were the insurance typically is a very opaque product, right? The customers don't know what's happening behind the wheel. So I think the communication to the customer, the engagement with the customer, and to tell them, like, for example, Prashant talked about cloud telephony to run your call center. Like, I think most of the insurers, we were one of the first to immediately be able to run our call center without having call center people in the offices. So we were able to manage all the customer calls, their concerns. And I think the entire digital platform was, the capabilities of the digital platform needed to be communicated to customers wide and large so that they start using it. And I think I can say for my organization, I think during this period, our net promoter score has actually gone up compared to what it was prior to pandemic. Our NPS has gone up significantly. Our renewal premiums have gone up, and we have hit the best ever persistency during this period. Because the customers are finding it, because the customers are at home, right? Meeting physically. So the person to whom the insurance is being sold, whether that, because we take a paltry amount of premium and give huge amount of coverage in terms of sum assured. So anything going wrong there can result in a huge claim payout, which if not monitored properly, or if you don't onboard after necessary checks, you rely a lot on the front end salesperson to go meet the customer. He's the primary underwriter who goes and meets the customer to see him physically, whether he's healthy or not, whether he comes from a good social background and profile. So in the pandemic, that was not possible because people were not going and meeting the prospects physically. So we relied a lot on facial recognition. So we implemented things like getting the photograph of the customer, and because there are multiple photographs that we receive. So we did facial recognition to see whether the age of the customer matches with the age that has been declared. We started doing video-based verification of customers. So it is a video-based identification and verification process where the customer comes on the video and answers questions that the company wants to know. And looking at that video and the photograph that has been given by the customer as part of his KYC document or proposal to match to see whether they're the same people or not. So we used facial recognition software to actually connect those dots. That is one additional tool that we had actually used, which I thought would be relevant.
Very interesting. In fact, on a similar banking, we noticed that a lot of men are growing beards and mustaches and all that. We did a story on that also in the magazine. I was just wondering if your facial recognition solution faced a challenge with beards and facial hair.
So it's about 80. So what it gives the underwriter, it gives what degree of accuracy the photograph has. It doesn't exactly say that this photograph is different from this photograph. It says the two photographs that has been put through the software, this is the degree of match. And then it is left to the underwriter to decide whether he's comfortable to accept that photograph and the video as the same persons, and then a decision is taken. But yes, it acted as additional tool, and it was important because we knew that those proposals have come without a physical meeting, because that was a given. That people were immobile, so they were definitely not. So that was definitely known. So there was a additional checking point that required to be done. And I think the best part of the pandemic, I'm sure everyone I would agree, is that the agility that organizations have shown to innovate and bring in solutions as and when required. And I think that has gone to a different scale altogether. Decision making, ability to implement such solutions, thinking of innovative ways to handle a problem at hand. I think those are, the biggest spin-off benefits of the pandemic.
Absolutely. Prashant, you are a CISO What is your understanding
Yeah.
of the frauds and challenges that have arisen during the pandemic? Pandemic
See,
specific.
one as Mahesh, yeah, pandemic specific, as Mahesh rightly told, the onboarding process, where like we are capturing all KYC details on mobile, on the video devices, and all those things. So that was a major challenge. But yes, considering the PDPR coming in India, we ensured that whatever the KYC documents we captured, as of now, all of the solutions available in the market, they are masking the Aadhaar.
Okay.
Okay. But we went one step ahead and we ensured that even their PAN or driving license also can be masked or not. Okay. So we ensured that even that can be secured and stored in our system so that they cannot be misused, because this is the PAN and driving license in our business specifically is a major document. Anyway, we are not allowed to get the Aadhaar, and now offline Aadhaar, though it is possible, we are concentrating mostly on PAN card and the
Okay.
driving licenses. We ensure that even we will mask the PAN card and driving license
But
also. That was the
historically,
one thing
are there
which we took.
been a lot of misuses of those documents or frauds because of those documents?
See, and frauds are anyway, it is happening globally with these documents, because anybody can go with your driving license and PAN card and can get the SIM card, okay, from the telcos. So there's a core and problem is that as everything is work from home, okay, irrespective of the best state of art control you put on those devices and everything, people can still have those documents on their mobile. So we ensure that all the desktops or the BYOD laptops, desktops they're having at their home, the moment they captured and store on their machine, how to ensure that it will get masked over there itself.
Okay.
Okay. One, these video KYC solutions are masking at the time of capturing itself, so that cannot be misused. And if somebody downloads, because then also it can be masked, and then subsequently at the storage level also we are masking it. So that is the one thing what we have done. And secondly, one major fraud we saw is on the mailing. We saw a lot of mailing attacks.
Email.
Okay. Email attacks. Okay. And thanks to subsequently RBI also has sent all the details and we have protected our emails. But the major fraud we saw is happening through mail. Luckily, most of my customer, other 90% of my customers are not having email IDs.
Okay.
So we are safe. But email frauds are the major frauds, and we ensured that emails are protected, specifically all the senior management email.
I see.
Where a lot of transactions are happening specifically.
Very interesting. Let's continue. Great. Thanks, Prashant, for that additional insight from security point of view. Harsh had mentioned about the use cases for automation in bank reconciliation. Can we have other examples from other participants in this? How RPA has made a difference in your organization? Whether you call it RPA or call it robots or bots or something else.
So I can talk about something something that we have done. So in insurance, we do a lot of group insurance business,
Okay.
right? So a lot of, and every employer recruits new employees, employees leave. So there is a lot of changes that happen in the policy because of addition of new employees by the organization or moving levels. People move from one designation to another designation. So their eligibility for cover increases, or when they leave the organization, that they are no longer part of the policy. So, and these are voluminous transactions. When you look at some hundreds of policy holders having lakhs of employees amongst them, and there is huge amount of dynamic change that keeps happening amongst the employee workforce. So there is a process of adding members. So these are members in the policy. The employees are members in the policy, in the group insurance policy. So they get added, they get removed based, or their levels get changed, and therefore the cover goes up. So we have about 25 to 28 RPA processes which actually take care of all these endorsements. These are called endorsements.
Processes.
Yes. So we have made about 25 RPA processes which take care of all these kind of additions. So what typically took 5 to 6 days to reconcile and add those members to the group policy, or remove the people who have left and change their coverage. So what took 5 to 6 days in a conventional mechanism, today there is a terminal where the RPA robot is installed, and that terminal kind of takes care of all the additions and deletions. So all you need is an input of which are the employees that need to be added, what is their revised coverage, and there are different robots which kind of do that aspect, and it's done in a matter of,
one-day job.
It's a one-day job depending on the volume. You can do X number of policies at a time, because those are the constraints that we have from a system standpoint. Okay, there is a core policy admin system. It can't be pounded left, right, and center. So you can update, say, X number of policies. So if there are more than X policies, it will take that much time. So otherwise, it's a completely automated process where endorsing a policy is not a. And of course, I think, as Harsh said, the bank reconciliation process, I think RPA has been used very effectively in the bank reconciliation. Yes, at our organization as well. So the entire bank reconciliation, and another third area is the entire, which I think came in really handy during the pandemic, and I think we are kind of glad that we had that capability. It was the entire auto pay management, because there is the customers have their policies registered on auto pay, and files have to go to the bank so that on the due dates the premiums are debited from their account and adjusted against their policy. So that entire process is completely done without any human intervention. And that, I think, came in very handy, because again, 50 to 60% of the policies, the premium come through an auto pay mandate, or probably more. And that entire transaction processing is done without, so the sending the files to the bank, getting the feed, then the bank obviously has their own process to debit, and then once they share the confirmation, then updating that premium receipt against the policy and confirming back to the customer that the policy has been is now in force, or the premium has been paid. That entire process has kind of is completely automated, and RPA has come in very, very handy to in solving those kind of issues. And they were not discoveries during the pandemic. They came in very handy during the pandemic, I must say that.
Yeah, you're right. You pointed that out, right?
Yeah.
Any other examples, other participants?
So we have some very good use cases. You see, these days the regulators are becoming stricter and stricter in identifying your customers, the KYC or the CKYC, or maybe even cases like in our industry, we have to now create e-insurance accounts for our customers. So these were typically routine kind of activities, and took a lot of, I would say, processing time of the people who were doing it. So we had identified them as a fit and proper use cases for an RPA kind of a journey. And now 100% of my CKYC or EI account creation, or for that matter, even the Vahan verifications that we do for our customers to establish the customer to ownership, vehicle ownership scenarios.
Through the RTO,
all of them, so all of them are right now automated, and that has kind of brought in both speed as well as accuracy to the entire process, because there are no human errors. You are talking to databases and confirming, making 100% match to ensure that things are right and things are good. And even complex things like maybe the tax deduction at source certificates that we are required to issue to hundreds of our vendor partners or maybe our intermediaries and stuff, which was a humongous task, because we had to cull out data from multiple sources, assimilate that, make some logics, arrive at some calculations, and then generate certificates in tons. We have been able to deploy an automation on that, and now 5-6 databases, the data gets collated. You are making a culmination at a PAN number, generating the certificates, giving the breakups, and also sending PDFs. I mean, we are now out of the printing and dispatch. You create a
email it.
Absolutely, and just dispatch it, and all of that is happening by use of a bot. So and that has given a wow factor actually, because things that could, after the month is over or after a period is over, it takes certain amount of time because of your other prioritizations, and you can't have too many people doing this job. So bit low in the priority. But this year it gave a wow factor, because we were able to dispatch the certificates very aggressively and very in a very time bound manner. So RPA does bring in these kind of benefits to the table.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Prashant, for your organization, Sriram Transport, any particular use
Uh,
cases for RPA?
as such, RPA specific, I'll say, like anyway, we have
We,
implemented onboarding customer processes specifically, everything was there. Okay. Customer front, BBPS was there and all of banking things were there. So bank statement is something which we automated long back, where
okay.
you may call it as a batch process or you may call it as RPA. But reconciliation was already there since last more than 5 years with us now, where bank statement falls in our SFTP or our folder, and the reconciliation happens automatically. Yes, on the
Okay.
RPA front specifically, what we have done is that on the employee expenses front. So we have 2,000 plus branches across the country, and
Okay.
all the vendor invoices. You take a MSU electricity bill,
Hmm.
you take other housekeeping bills or any bills, any language. So what we have done is that
Oh,
we have used RPA specifically to reduce the entry time of those users
hmm.
and to make the payment in right time, either
Okay.
by downloading those invoices directly from their portal or through a single mail where we have diverted all those things. So there we have used
Okay.
RPA, where the moment your bill, any branch electricity bill lands in a particular mail ID, it picks up, it does the entry, goes for
Hmm.
verification, and the payment can be done automatically. Some are put on autopilot mode, whereas some on put on maker checker mode. But yes, on the
Okay.
user front, and we found that we have reduced almost more than 40 to 50% of their entry activities, where invoices are, are very, I'll say, strict timeline has to be followed. Otherwise, there will be a
Okay.
challenges for us. So that
And
employee level,
probably
yes,
improved
yeah,
and probably improved accuracy also, because
yeah,
again typing
accuracy,
errors will
yes,
happen.
yeah.
If I may ask Mahesh, Hariharan, what are the most common use cases for automation, for robotic automation in the last, I don't know, 6 months in BFSI?
Yeah, I mean, see, let me put it, answer it in a different way, right? I mean, RPA has been, I mean, we invented RPA back in 2002. So the maturity curve has really gone, beyond multiple waves. But if I were to categorize it, there are typically three waves in automation
Okay.
and how, customers, use that. I mean, the start typically is a task-based automation. It could be, a part of recon, it could be, part of onboarding. So that's really, I would, if I want to call it, it's like a digital duct tape, right? You just cover that problem area and leave it there, so that RPA takes
Okay.
care of it. But the second wave is really about looking at the process end to end, right? Where and try and be as much as a straight through processing can be enabled using RPA, right? That's where the second value gets unlocked. I mean, if it's saying that the entire customer onboarding journey is automated, is one part of the process, right? Or rather is a full process, right, including KYC, your AML
So multiple
checks.
small process.
Yeah, and you and
Okay.
this RPA becomes the bridge, talking to multiple systems, and gives that entire as a straight through processing. In some sense, that's the second wave where your returns are much higher, right?
Okay.
And I would say the third, now the use cases are moving to the third spectrum. I don't know if you all have given example, explained with an example, a company called Lemonade. Many of you in insurance would have heard of that company, right? It's a strong Blue Prism customer any which ways, but you know what, their business model is unique, right? And in some sense, the traditional models of acquiring customers and traditional models of settling the claims is really challenged by these kind of companies. Their entire thing is digital platform. They onboard a customer in 20 seconds and they settle a claim in 3 seconds. Okay,
Wow.
so the reason I'm putting that across is that imagine the amount of underwriting confidence built in. Of course, it's a small home based insurance, theft insurance. It's smaller kind of area, so there is a risk appetite built in accordingly. But having said that, they're able to reach and the wow factor with customers is amazing. In fact, every point in every hour of the day, a robot goes and pings in weather systems and say that there is a chance of a fire or a flood, etc., in that area, and gives that value add to the customers. to take care of their lives, take care of their property, and in some sense, reduce, as the insurer, reduce their chances of claim also, right? I mean, so the whole idea is that going into that level is the wave 3 of intelligent automation, and today we have multitude of use cases like this which we have helped clients scale. And what is required for that is a very scalable platform that has delivered across. And so that's very important when we really select this kind of tools, and even to an extent it marries that AI and ML investments that you've already done or which you've developed for yourself, right?
Okay.
So quite a few stories are there. Paucity of time, I think. this is my take on it.
So any examples of customer facing automation? I heard examples of reconciliation, and Mahesh gave the example of
Manoj,
customers in and out. So
I
Harsh,
can
you
sort of
want to
take
add something
that.
that
Yeah,
customer
actually,
focus?
I think in general, Mahesh, Manoj, what's happening is that, as organizations, I think we're moving to a place where we're wanting to meet the customer at his or her platform of choice. And I think that's a massive shift happening, in the entire BFSI sector, wherein rather than requesting the customer to come to our portal, we are actually wanting to partner with, the ecosystem players and actually meet the customer where they're already spending their time. So one example I can share with you is that earlier we used to deliver the SOA, the statement of account to the customer over a link that they could download and sort of save to their mobile or their web devices, PC devices. But we are now actually delivering documents over WhatsApp. So we've actually built a WhatsApp bot to handle customer queries, requests, grievances, and also deliver documents to them. As the result, what we're finding is, much like Sriram, actually, we also have a lot of informal sector customers, truck drivers, farmers, taxi bus drivers. And these people don't really have emails, or if they have, they don't really maintain them, but they do have WhatsApp, many of them. And they are more than happy to get documents delivered on WhatsApp versus email. And certainly versus paper. So that's something we've been able to use quite effectively. And in fact, we're also we've got a self-service loan in principle approval journey built, which we're also trying to now deliver on the WhatsApp through the bot. So that's one of the one of these automation solutions we've done for the customer, which is a customer facing one.
Okay, that's interesting. Let me twist the question a little and see if we can get some other more meaningful response. And the twist is this: if we say what are the real customer pain points? What are the pain points that a customer sees when he's using your insurance service or lending a loan service or some other service? Is there a role that apart from a better mobile application and a better call center or whatever, there could be some kind of robotic automation that could deliver a better answer to can remove the customer's pain point?
From an insurance segment standpoint, the real product is claim, be it health or be it any claim for that matter. And we have some disruptive, value chain being disrupted in multiple segments from that standpoint, where you have some bit of information flowing to you, and basis that information for health insurance, for example, you could have customer getting treated, hospitals entering some information, and basis that information, real time, you making a decision that the claim is payable, not payable, and what portion of that claim is payable. So I think that's the real disruption, because in a health insurance, what is really paining the customer is the whole process of whether or not my claim will be paid, and if it will be paid, what portion of it will be deducted. So I think real time, as you enter the hospital, instant decision making and having clarity of kind of explanation of benefit as well as what is payable will make the customer's life very, very easy. And similarly, from a underwriting standpoint as well, there's a lot of advancement happening from category of data getting fed from various platforms, as Harshvardhan was talking about, from an ecosystem building standpoint. So you could get all this information together and make a sort of a health score for a particular customer who's applying for you, including the fraud score or maybe a payability or economic credit score, and all fed in together. You create a profile and allow a particular sum insured to the customer without even going into medical testing, other category researches on the customer's background. So these are two extremely important areas where from an insurance standpoint, a lot of disruptive work is happening, and a couple of us are making progress in strides.
Okay.
And hopefully it should really break the value chain, disrupt the value chain from unlocking the customer problems and making it very, very easy to access care.
Very interesting. So basically, the example, if I may put my thought on it, extracting data from multiple sources and then intelligently doing something meaningful for the customer. Well,
Correct.
this has usually been used to sell to the customer, but now you're saying that you actually service the customer based on
Actually, yes. I mean,
multiple
sales,
sources of
yeah.
data.
Sales and service is not now agnostic and operating on different platforms. So the way we are sourcing the customer, the similar way you have to gather information and service the customer. Because as Atul was saying at the beginning, our competition is not with other insurance companies, for example. Our competition is with the large giants, like all the logistical digital disruptors like Amazon and Flipkarts and multiple other value creators from a
You're right.
innovation standpoint. So that's the way we have to think and not think only about the category.
Atul, any customer use cases that are really critical that come to mind? Because general insurance is a very big field.
Right, right. You're right. It's a very big field, and one of the predicaments that we as general insurers feel is that most of our customers are unaware of what they are buying. They get sold, or they get into buying something without fully understanding them. So customer education is one area that I think today the technology is coming up very handy, be it the known use cases were FAQs, but today bots are trained to answer a question as per the likelihood of the next logical question to be. So that's helping the customers in these days. Auto forwarding of the video KYCs or a video FAQs, or taking the customers through a very scripted and good detailed understanding of the product that they have bought, are all the forms of customer education series that are currently running. Couple of examples that
Okay.
Priya did mention about on the claim side. I think that's also very important, because typically in her area of claims, which we also are competitors to, are the health claims, our expectation is that we need to understand what is the breakup, why have you not paid certain amount, or why have you paid a certain amount only up to a certain point, and so on and so forth. So there could be a huge number of questions that the customer or the claimant might have, which can be got addressed by way of use of technology, by way of use of some automation somewhere, and ultimately this leads to a greater satisfaction. I heard
Right.
Mahesh as saying that the NPS scores that he had during this period had risen significantly. Well, that's the story among all of us in general insurance space. Our
Wow.
NPS has grown up significantly because we found newer ways of addressing our customer needs. Perhaps we were all entrapped into our way of thinking in the past, but today, when challenged with that way of thinking and challenged with a new scenario, we came up with solutions that brought in the wow factor.
Absolutely. That's a very good way to encapsulate this change. So we are kind of, it's 4:10 now. We'd like to close. Anyone wants to make any closing remarks or any point that we have not discussed, but something that you in your heart that you want to share?
I just would like to say that before hitting with the pandemic, it's not that we were not thinking about digital disruption and newer ways to engage with our customers, partners, and employees. But I think it has just accelerated the whole journey. And with that acceleration, it is important for all of us. There are newer mechanisms of working from home, using the time effectively, as a couple of us have already said. So it's important to really reflect when we move forward, towards the normalcy, so to say. We should continue to operate with whatever liberating measures we've learned through this whole process, and not snap back to old ways, and continue to really,
Oh,
build on the successes. And as we all know, that better top line, better NPS, better engagement, better connections with employees, better productivity, more closer bonds. So all of that we should nurture and nourish and take it to the next level is what I would say.
Very well
Yes,
said,
I would
Priya. I
agree.
fully agree with
I
you.
would agree with Priya.
Fully
I
agree.
mean, we should not go back to the old ways of doing things. I mean, we should just progress on whatever we have been able to achieve. A large number of myths have been broken, and there are large
Huh.
number of glass ceilings still to be broken. I think we should aim for that.
Yes,
Yeah, and in fact,
absolutely.
Mohan, the way you started, you want everything to be like a Maggie. So, our
Huh.
customer expectations also are like Maggie. They want everything like Maggie moment with them.
In 2
So,
minutes.
our target is to give
Yeah.
a Maggie moment to our customer.
All
Yeah.
the customers.
I,
I
I
hope
have just
Nestle is not going to copyright this.
Yeah.
I just want to add, one thing of this, Manoj, right?
Huh.
I mean, while, some of these we have innovated, but I think whenever we take a digital decision, I think we've had recent examples also, right? I think we should keep resilience in mind, right? In whatever, we adapt and adopt, right? Because, one is, giving that wow factor to the customer, but, maintaining it that for a while and then building on it is so important, right? So you need to look at resilience on the product, resilience on how you deploy it. It's just not that the core application should be in a DC and a DR. You need to have a DR for probably everything, as long as it touches the customer, right? So
Hmm.
that's my take on it. And any, even be it RPA or whatever we do, keep resilience in center of all of this, because we need, as you said, as a continued platform adoption for all of us in India, right? So that's very important, I think.
See, in fact, resilience is now a business competitive advantage because if your system is down, within 5 seconds, the customer can go to your competitor,
Correct. Yeah.
direct
So
competitor or indirect competitor.
yeah, so your barriers, of change is reducing. So it's important that we have a better and resilient system always to service our customers.
Absolutely. In fact, there has been this case lately of a very prominent bank in India facing problems and regulatory problems because of resiliency issues and ability to service customers. So that's
Yeah.
why I think, however high tech as an organization you may be, you have to make sure that it is 24/7 high tech and not only 23 hours a day and 1 hour you are down or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I think
Any
that is
other
going to be
closing remarks?
no, no. I think that
Yeah,
possibly is going to be the biggest challenge because there is a huge transition or transformation that is happening to create a digital ecosystem for our customers. So I think keeping it up and running and being resilient, I think, is very critical. I fully agree. But I think at the same time, there is, I think we need to, I think as insurers, as BFSI, we need to remember that it's not just digitization, but I think there is a huge amount of value that people bring on the table. I think it's a combination of people plus the digital experience is what I think that cannot be the impact of people cannot be undermined at all. So I think you can't have a situation where everything is digital. It's resilient, but then it can't be devoid of human intervention. I think
no,
there is
absolutely,
so that
absolutely,
aspect is extremely critical.
absolutely. So let me have the final closing remarks. I'll just say thank you all very much. Wonderful discussion. So many new insights have come up, and I'm really happy to see that there's so much positivity despite so much potential for negativity. I mean, the pandemic is like nothing ever that has hit Earth in the 100 years, and we're still going through it. Apart from all the technology and the digital and data, I think it's the positivity and hope that is driving us all. It's a good lesson for actually our coming generations that this generation managed to overcome such a huge challenge, and they should be prepared to take on even bigger challenges and threats that come in their lives. So, with this, let me close and thank you all again very, very much.